Okay, welcome to the video lecture on fluid mechanics and hydraulic mission. So this is your Sheikh 9. So today we will go with the fourth lecture, that is the properties of fluid part 3. So properties of fluid part 3 is again under our first module, that is the fluid statics. Okay, so coming to the contents, here we will have a contents like compressibility, and then we'll have a bulk modulus, then we'll talk about the surface tension, capillary action, vapor pressure, and then we'll have a cavitation, and then finally we'll go with the summary. Okay, so we'll see one by one. So first is compressibility, so and bulk modulus. So compressibility is nothing but it is a reciprocal of bulk modulus, so that means it is a inverse of bulk modulus. So first we will define the bulk modulus. With the help of bulk modulus we will go with the compressibility. So bulk modulus is nothing but it is the ratio of compressive stress to the volumetric strain. So compressive stress, sometimes it is called as a increase of pressure. So volumetric strain, you already known from the engineering mechanics, which is nothing but the dV by V. So this is called the volumetric strain. So compressive stress means we will say it is increase of pressure. So we will write increase of pressure as a dP. Okay, so we will write first bulk modulus equal to increase of pressure by volumetric strain. So bulk modulus is given as a K. So here we will consider a piston with a cylinder. Here we will see, so the piston is initially at this position where the volume within the cylinder is V. The piston is moved in the forward direction because of some external pressure applied at here. So because of that one, a piston is moved up to it here. So we can see the volume changed with is nothing but dV. So from this expression you can write volumetric strain equal to dV by V. Okay. Similarly, the piston is applied pressure in the forward direction. So we'll write that is a dP. So we'll write volumetric strain. So minus dV by V. Here minus sign is given because the volume is decreasing. So here the volume is more initially, but with the external pressure volume is decreases. So that's why it is given as a minus sign. So negative signs means volume decreases with increase of pressure. Then so we will write bulk modulus K equal to increase of pressure by volumetric strain. We will substitute in this expression. So we'll get dP by minus dV by V. So I'm taking V in the upward direction. So we'll get minus dP by dV into V. So this is called the bulk modulus K. Now we know that compressibility is the reciprocal of bulk modulus. We will write compressibility simply as 1 by K. Okay, so you can see in the images. So compressibility, if more compressibility means the equipment will going to damage. So this is the body where the compressive forces are compressive stress are acting in all the three directions. So if bulk modulus is more means, so see here, if the bulk modulus is more means the compressibility will be less. Okay, so this is how we'll understand with this image. Then coming to a problem, here we'll have a problem. So determine the bulk modulus of elasticity of a liquid if the pressure of the liquid is increased from 70 Newton per centimeter square to 130 Newton per centimeter square. So the volume of the liquid decreased by 0.15%. Okay, it is given that we need to calculate the bulk modulus. So that is a K value of the liquid if the pressure of the liquid is increased by, so it is increases from the 70 to 130. So it is increased 7 to 130 and the volume of the liquid decreased by 0.15%. Okay, so volume of the liquid decreased, so the given volumetric strain, so that is nothing but 0.15%. So we'll write in the equation. So we'll write first given data. So initial pressure 70 Newton per centimeter square, final pressure 130 Newton per centimeter square. So increase in pressure we can write 130 minus 70. So that is gives as a 60 Newton per centimeter square. So we know that decrease in volume which is given as 0.15%. So we'll know that so this is nothing but volumetric strain which is given 0.15. So minus dV by dV equal to, okay, it is given decrease in volume. So already we'll have a minus here. So this is also minus 0.15 because it is decreased volume. So substituting minus of minus 0.15 by 100, we need to remove the percentage. So that's why we are dividing with the 100. Then so that is our volumetric strain. So substituting in the expression bulk modulus K equal to dP by minus dV by V. So we'll get dP which is 130 minus 70, we will get the 60 Newton per centimeter square, and dV by V which is 0.15 by 100. So after substituting this one, we will get the value of the K value which is 4 into 10 power 4 Newton per centimeter square. So this is how we'll solve problems related to bulk. Okay, coming to the surface tension. So before going to surface tension, first we will see what are the answers for these questions. Did you ever wonder why water beads up on the car? So that means the water droplets are sticking on the car surface as shown in the figure, and some insects are floating on the surface of the water, and how bubbles hold together themselves. So for these questions there is only one answer, that is due to surface tension. So because of cohesive forces between the molecules, a substance tend to contract to smallest area possible. Okay, so when you see, so insect is there. So here suppose I will consider a molecule at here, another molecule at here. So these two molecules are attracted each other. Okay, so if the attraction forces between these two molecules is more than the force applied by this insect leg, so that means the force applied by this leg will be less compared to the attraction forces between two molecules, then definitely the leg will not going to submerge in the water. Okay, so that is how the insects are floating on the surfaces. So definitely there are two forces in the molecules. So first one is a cohesive forces. So cohesive forces is nothing but the attraction between the same molecules. Okay, so if you take, these are the water molecules, the attraction between these two molecules is nothing but cohesive attraction. When we are talking the attraction between, suppose this is a container, so this is a water molecule. So now the attraction between these two is called the adhesive forces. So the attraction between dissimilar atoms we call it as a adhesive attraction. The attraction between the same molecules we call it as a cohesive attraction. Okay, then so cohesive forces are greater in mercury. So that means molecule to molecule attraction is more in the mercury compared to water. So it forms more round spherical shape or rounder spherical shape. Okay, so you can see here. So this is the mercury. It is rounded or spherical compared to the water. Okay, because there is a cohesive forces between, more cohesive forces in the mercury. So if you can see, a atom is there. So we'll have another atom at here. So this atom is trying to attract this atom. Okay, more attraction are there between atom to atom in mercury. So this atom is attracting more by this molecule. Not only this molecule, we'll have another atoms here. So because of this pulling action of the adjacent molecules, this molecule is going to move in this direction. Okay, so because of that one, it is becoming somewhat spherical shape. Then coming to cohesive, in alcohol cohesive forces are weaker. Okay, so in alcohol, see, we can see this is the alcohol liquid drop. So this is a mercury liquid drop. In alcohol the cohesive forces are weaker. So because of that one, adhesive forces are more. Here surface, this is a surface, flat surface, this is the liquid droplet. The attraction between the surface and the molecule is more. So that is a adhesive forces are more. So because of these adhesive forces, the molecule at here is attracted by the surface, and this molecule is attracted by the surface. Because of that one, it is going to flatten. But here it is the middle of mercury and the alcohol. So this is how we understand our the cohesive and adhesive forces. Then, so we will define the surface tension now. So you can see two containers are here. So we'll have a liquid molecule at here. We are assuming a liquid molecule at here. We are assuming another liquid molecule at here. So this is the free surface of water. Okay. So at this molecule, so we'll have a adjacent molecules also. So this the middle molecule is equally attracted by the each and every molecule of its adjacent. But when you see here, the molecule have only 5 molecule attraction, but at the top it don't have any molecules. So that means in this case the forces in all the direction is equal. So it is called the resultant force is nothing but 0 for this molecule. But coming to at here, there is some resultant force which is definitely not equal to 0. Okay. So we see this is the same diagram. See here. So here this molecule have a equal forces, but here we will have a some resultant force which is acting in the downward direction. See, some resultant force which is acting in the downward direction, because we don't have same force in the upward direction at the free surface. Okay. So this force we call it as a surface tension. For this is the force which we call it as a surface tension force, which is the force per unit length, because this force is acting along the layer. So this is only one dimension, so that's why we said it is a unit length. We will see a molecule in the fluid is pulled in all the direction by its neighbors with approximately equal strength. I already explained how it has happened. So the net force on it is about 0. But this is not the case at the surfaces. See, at the surfaces it is not happening like this. Here the net force on the molecule is the downward direction. Thus the layer of the molecule at the surface are slightly compressed. See, you can see the molecules are compressed at the surface. Okay, so the molecules are compressed at the surface. Okay, because of this attraction force is acting in the downward direction. Because of this one, the molecule at here and here trying to come together nearly. Because of this downward force, so this layer is lightly compressed. Then the force surface tension can be defined as the force per unit length holding a surface together. See, the surface tension is nothing but the force per unit length holding this surface together. So that means the molecules are together because of this downward force. This force per unit length we call it as a surface tension. So we'll see, we will derive the surface tension on a liquid droplet. So we'll have a liquid droplet at here. Okay. So this is the liquid droplet. So when you cut this liquid droplet with this plane, that seems to be like this. Okay. So at these surfaces, that means at the circumference, the surface tension is acting. So this is the surface tension force which is acting throughout the circumference, but inside will have a liquid. Throughout will have a liquid. I said surface tension is acting only at the surface of the liquids. So that means at these surfaces only, that means at the circumference only, the surface tension is acting. Inside will have a completely liquid is there. So the pressure which is acting in throughout this surface, inner surface. So we'll see. So we consider a spherical droplet of liquid with a radius r. On the entire surface of the droplet, the surface force due to surface tension is acting. I already said throughout the circumference, surface tension is acting. So let sigma is the surface tension of the liquid. We are assuming sigma as the surface tension of the liquid. That P is the pressure intensity inside the liquid droplet, and it is nothing but excess of the atmosphere. It is not. So we will say it is a gas pressure. Pressure intensity into the droplet, that is in excess of the outside pressure intensity. Okay, so that means it is greater than the atmospheric pressure. Then d is the diameter of the droplet. Then we will write surface tension acting around the circumference, which is nothing but surface tension we defined sigma into circumference. Okay, surface tension acting around the circumference, which is nothing sigma into circumference, which is nothing but pi dA. So this is the surface tension force actually. So surface tension force, surface tension actually will have a units are Newton per meter, because it is the force per unit length, it is given by Newton per meter. If you want surface tension force, so we'll multiply sigma with into some one dimensional dimension. So that is nothing but pi d. So we'll multiplying with the one dimension, that is a pi d into sigma, that gives us surface tension force acting on the circumference. So pressure acting on the area, pressure acting inside this area. So we can see it is acting throughout the circuit inside. So it is written as P, that is a pressure into area, pi by 4 d square. So this is the pressure force acting inside. Then we are equating these two forces, because we will have only these two forces in the x direction. So we are equating these two forces. We will write P into pi by 4 d square equal to sigma into pi d. From there we can write P equal to sigma into pi d by pi by 4 d square. So by simplifying more, pi gets cancelled, 1d gets dd gets cancelled, then we'll get P equal to 4 sigma by d. So this is the expression for the pressure and surface tension for the liquid droplet. Then similarly we will write surface tension on a hollow bubble. We will have a hollow bubble at here. So in hollow bubble, like we will consider as a soap bubble, which is floating in a air, it will have a two contact surfaces. One is inside, another one is a outside. So when you see, this is a surface which is a hollow thing. So inside it is also some air is there. So outside also it is air is there. So inside also it is under pressure, and outside also it is under pressure. So two surfaces are acting definitely. The surface tension is acting on the two surfaces, inner and outside. So that's why we are writing inside will have a pressure P into pi by 4 d square. It is pressure force, and here we'll have a surface tension is contacted with the two surfaces, inner and outer. So that's why I'm multiplying with the 2. So by simplifying, P equal to 2 sigma into pi d by pi by 4 d square. Pi gets cancelled, 1d gets cancelled, then we get P equal to 8 sigma by d. So P equal to 8 sigma by d is the relation between pressure force and the surface tension for the hollow bubble. Then similarly, surface tension on a liquid droplet. So you can see, so this is the liquid droplet. Okay, so when the liquid is ejecting from the nozzle, so this is a pipe, suppose this is a pipe diameter. So when you connect a nozzle at the end of the pipe, circular pipe, then you can see the droplet which is coming like cylindrical one. Okay, so when you place a nozzle at the end of the pipe, the droplet is coming as a cylindrical droplet. So here I am taking a section like this. I am cutting this droplet with the plane, then I obtain like this. So we'll have a, we already known surface tension is acting only on the surfaces. So you can see this is the surface which is acted by the surface tension. So when you see this length is more, so we are considering the surface tension only at here. Here also it is acting, but we are considering, but we are neglecting because this length is very small. Okay, so surface tension is acting in here, and the pressure force is acting at this surface. So this is the surface where pressure force is acting. So we'll write, considering the equilibrium of the semi-jet. So force due to pressure, we already said the pressure is acting at this surface. So this area we know pressure P into area of the semi-jet. So this is the D and this is the L length. So we will write area D into L. Okay, that is the pressure force P into L into D. Surface tension which is acting at the two length here. So we will write sigma into 2L, because sigma is a Newton per meter. So we need to multiply with the one dimension. So So while multiplying with the length, that is the 2L, then we are equating these two forces because we have only these two forces. Then P into L into D equal to sigma into 2L. So from there we can write P equal to 2 sigma by D. So this is the expression for surface tension on the liquid jet. Okay. So these are the expression we obtained for the surface tension on a liquid droplet and soap bubble and a liquid jet. Then we'll come to a problem 2. So here we'll have a find the surface tension in a soap bubble of 40 mm diameter when inside pressure is 2.5 Newton per meter square above the atmospheric pressure. So that means it is a gauge pressure. So here we need to find the sigma value for the soap bubble. So we will write the given data. Diameter of the bubble 40 mm. So it will be converted into 40 into 10 power minus 3 meters because 1 mm equal to 10 power minus 3 meters. Pressure in the excess of atmosphere or outside, we will call it as a P equal to 2.5 Newton per meter square. So we know the expression for soap bubble P equal to 8 sigma by D. So P is 2.5 equal to 8 into sigma value we need to calculate by D value is 40 into 10 power minus 3. From this we will get the sigma equal to 0.0125 Newton per meter. So this is how we will calculate sigma value for the soap. Now coming to the capillary action. So before going to see capillary action, so we will first answer some of the questions regarding capillary action. So those are, how do trees pump water from the ground to their highest leaves? You can see in this animation, so the water molecules which are lifting in the upward direction to the different parts of the tree. And similarly, why does liquid wax rise to the tip of the candle? So why it is happening actually? Because it is happening because of the capillary action, because of the cohesive and adhesive forces. So the liquid droplets which are lifting in the upward direction, and because of the cohesive and adhesive forces, so the liquid wax which is present at the bottom, which is taken at the top of the candle. Okay. So the answer for these examples is nothing but capillary action. The capillary action is because of two things. First one is the adhesive and cohesive forces. We'll see. So capillary action is defined as the phenomena of rise or fall of the liquid surface. So you can see rise of the liquid surface, or sometimes it may be fall in a small tube. Here we'll have a small tube is there related to the adjacent general level of the liquid. Okay, here we'll have adjacent general level. So this is the liquid level in the small tube. When the tube is held vertical in the liquid. So this is the tube which is held vertical in the larger liquid container. So the rise of the liquid surface is known as capillary rise, while the fall of the liquid surface is known as capillary depression. So you can see here. So a tube is inserted into the other container such that the level of the liquid is rises it here. So here we can see molecules are, a molecule to molecule attraction is cohesion, molecule to the wall attraction is adhesion. Because of that one, it was lifted, the level of the liquid is rising in the upward direction. So this is because of the both cohesive and adhesive forces. Okay, so this is the phenomena occurring in the liquid. So liquid rises and falls in the small glass tube or whatever it may be. Okay, so if your diameters are different, say for the smaller diameter it is higher, for other diameters it is small. Okay, then so we will find out the expression for the capillary rise. So we'll have a height or h of the liquid in the tube. So we'll have a tube is inserted in the liquid container. So the liquid is rising up to a height h. Okay, so this is the height h, and under the state of equilibrium, the weight of the liquid of height h is balanced by the force at the surface of the liquid in the tube. So the liquid rises up to a height h. Okay, so at the previous one, this is the liquid level. but with the insertion of this glass tube, so the liquid is rises at a height in the glass tube. So that means the unequilibrium is created because of this height. So now after some time it is become a equilibrium. So this height, because of this height, weight is acting in the downward direction. So W, which is acting in the downward direction. So this weight is balanced by the surface force, so which is having a theta angle with the container. So we'll have a vertical component which is given as a sigma cos theta. Okay, so this is sigma sin theta. Sigma sin theta. So the weight component which is acting in the downward direction is balanced by this vertical component of surface tension force. Okay, so this is a surface tension. So we'll multiply with the area, then we'll get the force. So here area is nothing but the glass is contact with the circumference. So we'll write pi into d. Okay, so this is the force which is acting in the upward direction, and this is the weight which is acting in the downward direction. Because of this liquid height only it is formed. So we'll see. But the force at the surface of the liquid is in the tube is due to surface tension. We've seen that one. So angle is the contact between the liquid and the glass tube. Weight of the liquid H in the glass tube can be written as, so weight can be written as, so we will write weight W equal to mg. So mass can be written as density into volume. So volume can be written as area into length or whatever it may be, area into height or whatever it may be. Here area is area of the tube, L is the height of the liquid column rise. Okay, so that is how we'll get the expression area of the tube into height h into rho into g. Then so substituting area here, area of the tube which is pi by 4 d square into h into rho g. So this is the weight which is acting in the downward direction. Similarly, so we'll write vertical component of surface tension force which is sigma into circumference, already seen this one, pi d into cos theta, sigma cos theta into pi d. So this is the vertical component force which is acting on the glass tube. So but at the equilibrium the force acting in the downward direction and upward direction are equal. So substituting pi by 4 d square into h into rho into g equal to sigma pi d into cos theta. So we'll cancel out. So I'm cancelling pi term and one d is gets cancelled. So another d term is there. Then remaining we will write. So h equal to sigma pi d. So we'll cancel later. So pi d into cos theta, pi by 4 d square into rho g. So we are cancelling pi d, and we'll get the h equal to 4 sigma cos theta by rho g into d. So this is the expression for capillary rise. So for the water, and when it is between the clean glass, so the theta value is approximately equal to 0. So we'll substitute cos theta equal to, then cos theta is 0 means cos theta equal to cos 0 equal to 1. When we substitute it here, so it will become cos theta will become 1. Then we'll get the h equal to 4 sigma rho g d. So this is the capillary rise expression for the water. So that is h equal to 4 sigma by rho g d. Then similarly we'll write the expression for capillary fall. So now we'll have a same container. So we inserted a glass tube. Now instead of rising, the liquid level is falls now. Okay, so this is happened when we insert glass tube in the mercury. So the capillary fall will be happened when we insert our glass tube into mercury. We'll see the glass tube is dipped in the mercury, and the level of the mercury in the tube will be lower than the general level of the outside liquid as shown in figure. It's already seen. So this level is lower than the original level. So with the height h. So then in equilibrium, two forces are acting on the mercury, Then the first force is due to surface tension, which is acting in the downward direction. So this is the force, surface tension, which is acting in the downward direction with the component sigma pi d cos theta. Similarly, so another force, that is a hydrostatic force, or sometimes we call it as a pressure force, which is acting in the upward direction because of the height h. Okay, so that can be written as similar to previous one, p into pi by 4 d square. But here the p value is nothing but rho g h. So we already seen from the hydrostatic law we can write p equal to rho g h. So we'll substitute p equal to rho g h. Then we equating these two expressions, that is pi into pi d into cos theta equal to rho g h into pi by 4 d square. So after that, cancelling the pi d we will get 4 sigma cos theta by rho g d. So for the mercury, so theta is approximately equal to 128 degrees. So after substituting, we will get the h for the capillary fall in the mercury liquid. Okay, then we will see a problem. So find out the minimum size of a glass tube that can be used to measure water level if the capillary rise in the tube is to be restricted to 2 mm. Consider the surface tension of the water in contact with air as 0.073575 Newton per meter. So it is here we need to find out the minimum size of the glass tube. So here we need to calculate the d value that can be used to measure the water level. So it is given liquid is a water. If the capillary rise, so it is water, so that's why it is rise, capillary is rise to be restricted. So that means h is given 2 mm. So h is given 2 mm, and consider the surface tension of the water in the contact with the air as a sigma, it is given. So 0.073575 it is given Newton per meter. So we need to calculate the d value. So we'll write the given data. Capillary rise 2 mm, we are multiplying into 10 power minus 3, then it will becomes meters. Sigma value 0.073575 Newton per meter. So we need to calculate diameter of the tube. So water, it is theta equal to 0 degrees, we already seen. Then the density for the water, so we need to remember the density for the water 1000 kg per meter cube. Most of the problems, the density of the water not given, so we need to remember the density of the water. So we know the formula h equal to 4 sigma by rho g d for the water. Then we'll substitute sigma value, and rho is 1000, g is 9.81, d we need to find. H is given already, 2 into 10 power minus 3. So after substituting, we will get d equal to 1.5 centimeters. For 1.5 centimeter glass tube, we will obtain 2 mm of rise in the glass tube. Okay, so the minimum diameter of the tube should be 1.5 centimeters. Okay, so this is how we will calculate the diameter of a glass tube. Now coming to the vapor pressure. So vapor pressure, the pressure at which a liquid will boil. So we will see a diagram. So we will have a container. So in that we will have a liquid. Okay, so this is a liquid surface, we will have it here. So when you heat this one container, so the vapor bubble will form. So it will move in the top. So this vapor bubble will exert a pressure on this liquid surface. So this pressure we call it as a vapor pressure. Okay, so when the liquid will reaches this pressure, so the liquid definitely will boil. So the vapor pressure increases when temperature is increases. So when you increase the temperature, so the bubble formation will be increases. So the bubble formation is increases means the pressure acting on the liquid by the bubble also increases. Okay, so atmospheric pressure, so definitely the water will boil at 100 degrees centigrade. So the pressure acted by the bubbles on the top of the surface, if it is equal to atmosphere, then definitely the water will boil at 100 degrees centigrade. Then water can boil at lower temperature if pressure is lower. So if you remove these bubbles, so if the pressure acted by this bubble is increases, then definitely the boiling point of the liquid also increases. So because of that one, if you remove these bubbles out of this surface, then the pressure acting at here will be lower. So the water or liquid can boil at a lower pressure. Okay, so when vapor pressure greater than the liquid actual pressure, so when you see the vapor pressure which is greater than the liquid actual pressure, the liquid definitely will boil. So the pressure acting by this bubble onto the liquid, if it is greater than the pressure of the liquid, then the liquid present in the container will be boiled. Okay, so this is the graph. How will see the variation of the pressure with respect to temperature. If temperature is increases means the vapor pressure also need to increase. Then coming to the cavitation. So cavitation is a simple phenomenon of formation of vapor bubbles of the flowing fluid. So the fluid is flowing, so the vapor bubbles are formed in the region where the pressure of the liquid falls below the vapor pressure. See, the pressure of the liquid is falling below, so this is the vapor pressure line. So this is the vapor pressure line, the dashed line. So this is the pressure of the liquid. So at here the pressure of the liquid is going down, and at here it will reaches with the vapor pressure and it is moving down. So when the pressure, actual pressure of the liquid moving down to the, that means lower than the vapor pressure, then formation of bubbles are happening. So and of liquid falls below the vapor pressure, and sudden collapse of these vapor bubbles in a region of the higher pressure. So after traveling to somewhere where if the pressure is higher, see here we'll have a smaller cross section, here it is a larger cross section. So when the bubbles reaches at the larger cross section, so that means there is a high pressure is there. Because of high pressure the bubbles are collapsing. Because of this one, cavitation is formed on the walls of the pipe. So that means some layers of the pipe is moving. Okay, so this is how we understand the cavitation. So in this lecture we seen compressibility is the reciprocal of bulk modulus of elasticity. Bulk modulus is the ratio of the compressive stress to the volumetric strain, and the surface tension can be defined as the force per unit length holding a surface together, and the relation between the surface tension and pressure for the liquid droplet P equal to 4 sigma by D. For hollow bubble it is P equal to 8 sigma by D. For liquid jet it is P equal to 2 sigma by D. And capillary we define the phenomena of rise or fall of the liquid surface in a small tube relative to the adjacent general layer of the liquid. Okay, so this is our end of the today's lecture. So that is a lecture 4. So we will stop it here. So thank you, one and all.